then to like get the opposite of that, like let's say you abstain from that behavior, but you really want it, and that's just its own kind of suffering.
And that's called edging or whatever.
Yeah, I'm edging the cookie. Welcome to Paranoia. We have many thoughts, and we're going to share them with you. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Michael.
And welcome to the show, everybody. Today, well, not today. This week, we read another thing, part of our little book club called Apocryphon of John, the secret book of John, an old gnostic text. So we'll share our thoughts about that. And then we have another article to read. I hear the whispers on the wind tell me there's another article from The Truth is Real. And then we just have some thoughts and notes we'd like to share sprinkled throughout the episode. So yeah, Michael, what you been up to?
Oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I gotta say it non-seriously. Not that this is serious, unless... Speaking of books, I finally finished one I was reading.
Oh yeah, which one?
Take Me Forever. I read The Eighth Tower by John Keel.
Fuck.
Because I haven't read any of his books, and you know, he's a big name in the sphere of stuff. The
sphere.
The movie, The Sphere.
No, not
the
that
Las
one.
Vegas thing.
Yeah.
The sentient emoji. Yeah, it was cool. It was interesting. It was like he kind of had a point, but he saved it to like the very end almost. And then even in like the point he was kind of saying, he was kind of goofing around, I think. Because I don't want to, not like it's like a spoiler or anything. It was written in like the 70s, I think, maybe. Because everything he was talking about was like, yeah, recent thing. This just happened, 1974. But yeah, like at the end, he kind of like gives his like a little thesis or a little hypothesis he has, kind of. And part of it, I think he's goofing about, because then he also brings up other examples, and he's like, yeah, but this I'm goofing. Do you see how easy it is to goof like this? So I'm like, are you messing with me?
Yeah, is this whole book a lie?
I mean, like, don't think all of it is, but it's just like, yeah, parts I'm like, are you messing with me right now? What are you doing?
So is it like a recounting of different stories?
A lot of it is. Shit? He does talk like a lot about different like accounts of stuff. It's kind of, and again, this is the only thing I've read from him and only have heard other people talk about stuff. Obviously, Mothman Prophecies. I should just read that because it's the big one. But he's really talking about like his idea of like he calls it like the super spectrum, like ultra terrestrial stuff. I don't know if he coined that term. I mean, he probably did, but
I think he did actually.
Yeah. So he did. He gives like a lot of examples like throughout the book and talks about like his ideas on like where this stuff literally lies on like the frequencies of like, you know, magnetism, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty cool. It's worth reading. I just wish I would have read it faster, not just been like, yeah, you know, I'll just read it later. What if I just read it never?
Yeah, I do that with books too. Like I read parts and then long periods of time and then go back to it. I do that with a lot of things, like video games.
Yeah.
Which, you know, video games is one thing, but, you know, if it's like I'm playing Zelda or something, like the two big ones.
Yep.
Like, I don't remember what the hell I was doing.
Not at all.
Yeah, and then I don't want to go back and play because then I want to kind of start a new one. I always do that.
Oh, yeah. I remember The only thing I remember I was doing in Tears of the Kingdom was trying to get outfits. I just wanted to get all those outfits.
That's something you can always return to.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, I could do it, but well, time to get the next outfit.
Yeah, I played the second one a little bit. I played the shit out of the first one.
Yeah.
I didn't get all the Korok seeds, but I got the maximum for the benefit or whatever to like upgrade all your shit.
I think my coworker, he either, I don't know, maybe he didn't get all the Korok seeds, but he did like all the shrines, and then like did all the DLC shrines, and like got that bike or whatever you get.
Oh yeah, I get
and like the
bike.
DLC.
You know what you get if you get all the Korok seeds?
I think he told me, but I don't remember.
It's a golden turd that you can't do anything with.
That's
like,
funny though.
Good job, idiot.
That is like a good like. Oh, you thought you were gonna get something slick?
Yeah. It's like, wow, okay. It was like 700 of them, I think.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It's fun to grab them.
It's true.
Make that guy do his little dance.
They made a fun game. Yeah, so that's your book. I thought, isn't he kind of like skeptical too, John Peel?
Yeah, it's like he's
That's
like both. Thing. I don't know. He's some of the stuff he's like, yeah, this is for sure weird, and this is for sure whatever. But yeah, he definitely seems like he has his own kind of particular thoughts on stuff. So yeah, that's
cool. Yeah, I thought about reading some. I marked one down. It was like Disneyland of the Gods or something. Is that one of his works? Seems fun.
I don't know.
Well, I have a what I've been up to.
Yeah.
Little thing. I don't know if it was the last episode. One of them, 2 or 3.
One of the like 2 or 3.
One of the 3 that are out. I was talking about like, what would you do if somebody came to you and say, "Oh man, I got diarrhea"? Like,
oh, how could I forget?
Like, do you laugh? Do you not? It depends on who it is. We found out it's
Yeah.
the context. Well, she's not like elderly. She's definitely older.
Yeah.
You could call her elderly. She has grown-up kids and stuff. And retired. Across the street from me is my neighbor.
Okay.
And
I was like,
she's going to love this. She's going to watch this. Every time I'm outside raking the leaves, mowing the lawn or something, she like comes across the street, come talk to me, get the updates, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know, they're nice. And I don't know what the hell we were talking about, but it kept changing topics constantly. I don't know if it's like an old person thing. They're just talking about this or that. And then she's talking about how she had COVID, but it was like 2 years ago when she had COVID. And she took some medication to help with it. And she's like, "Oh, it just gave me such bad diarrhea."
And you started just laughing so hard.
Oh, I smiled pretty big.
Just like, I like when the picture I had in my head is like the Grinch, like the smile just like crept up to your ears. You're like a devious little.
I was like, I was waiting for this. I don't know, but okay. So it's like some context. She's not like in pain. She's not like, she's kind of chuckling about it too.
Okay. Yeah.
At the time. So it's like this lighthearted conversation. And part of what I do in conversation is like follow along and like joke around and stuff. So I was in that mode. And then she dropped the diarrhea on me. And
you didn't have to say it like that, but all right.
I can't say it like that. But so I kind of chuckled, but I was like, "Oh, that's terrible." You know, I redeemed it.
Oh my God.
I did what I was supposed to, but just not the right way. And so that was my update for it actually happened.
It actually happened. I mean, yeah, some might say that you just, maybe you saw into the future. I'm gonna will a conversation into being about diarrhea.
So that I can then talk about it again on this show.
Yeah, and then see how I actually react.
Yeah. So I'm a little immature, I guess. But
No.
that's okay.
You said she was chuckling too, so whatever.
She was chuckling.
Yeah.
But she was not having a great time with that.
Well, at the time, yeah.
So yeah, that's my update.
That's that's wonderful.
Yeah.
What do you? I was gonna say, like, it's like that thing where, in like hindsight, stuff doesn't seem so bad. You're like, yeah, the worst day I ever had in my life. It wasn't that bad. It was fine. It was pretty funny, actually.
It was fine. Yeah. I didn't hate it,
Yeah, I didn't hate it at all.
Had plenty of toilet paper. It was fine.
No problems.
Yeah. Showered right after,
God.
Just not a problem is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, totally normal. Took all the right steps,
Yeah.
By
A little bit
book.
of pain, but you're going to be painless all your life.
Just buy the books,
Yeah. Yeah. Book me. Come on.
For your next diarrhea conversation, I'll make sure to pencil you in. Yeah.
Moving on. Let me drink my tea.
Oh, you get a sip, I get a sip.
Free sips.
All right. Free sips are done.
So here you have an article.
Yep. They got another one. There's another one up.
Another truth. These people are going to get onto us about us sharing so much of their truth. But
Maybe.
it is a public website. So
It is a public website, yeah. The truthisreal.org is, you could just go there.
yeah. And you should.
You could just, you could listen to us maybe say.
Yeah, we'll read it for you. It's fine. There is more stuff on there, but this one's new, so.
True.
Oh, looks like they updated their website. Looks pretty nice. Okay. This one's about trees. All right, I'm going to read it. November 7th, 2024. Oh my God. Anomalous Tree Quakes on the Rise by Dr. Drip. Who is this Drip? Quotes, the whole creation groans. Romans 8:22, the Bible. Seismologists, some now taking, oh my God. I'm going to restart. Seismologists, some now having taken to calling themselves Quakers, have been poring over the latest data gathered from their globe-wide network of vibration detectors. Scientific term. Normally, we are used to hearing about only the biggest shakes our planet decides to serve up from its massive molten stomach. That's good. Grumbly bumblies in there leak out every so often through their pores. The oceans of magma churning around our iron core, if you subscribe to the standard SCH, solid core hypothesis, force the tectonic plates to shift and slide across and beneath each other, causing minute all the way to massive classic earthquakes. But the Quakers have noticed a pattern not able to be accounted for by our planet's average belly aches. Grumblies. Spools of dot matrix printer papier reveal these patterns, these refrigerator art of lines and colors to our unbelieving brains. Yeah, I guess if you're looking down from way up, they're not as impressive, It's just little colorings on the canvas.
Little squiggles.
Unbelieving brains. And what irony there is in this way of revealing The patterns show remarkably a shape familiar to many of us whose lives play out on the surface of our world, shapes that look surprisingly alive, alarmingly leaf-like, and almost laughably tree-esque. Wow.
That was a lot of nothing.
Yeah. Also, like, it was hard to do in one breath. One sentence, folks. Typical DERs, deep earth rumbles, look more akin to an audio wave, or in more extreme events, the frantic writing of your average doctor. I've seen some doctors chicken scratch, and it's unbelievable.
Hey, what is this? Hope this isn't important.
It's not. These are the kind you are likely to have seen in dramatized television series and are known well by Quakers, amateur Quakers alike. All the Quakes. Unremarkable. Yet even among these standard scribbles, there had been peculiar aberrations in the signals before. Okay. Some have plain explanations that derive from everyday human activity, large airplanes, precious gem drilling, the construction of DUMBs.
Oh, I know that one.
Deep underground military bases. Okay.
Yeah, I do know that.
Etc. That's cool. Dumbs?
Yeah, I've listened to a bunch of people talk about those, actually.
Oh, fuck yeah. Get the research on domes. Others seem to have more paranatural reasons behind them. Cryptid activity, portal conjugation. Portal conjugation?
I don't know. Maybe?
What does conjugate mean? The bellows of the living dead, etc. Of course, the highbrow Quakers balk at these latter accounts. I added the L for extra silliness. It was spelled right. They balk at these latter accounts for the anomalous signals, but even they could not ignore these new patterns. The trees are quaking. It is now agreed by Quakers of all stripes. Stripes? All stripes that these newly discovered signals are, in fact, perpetrated by the trees of our planet. That is not good. On first brush, this idea seems fantastic, as if straight from the mind of Tolkien. That's what I was thinking. But without a sizable spike in the number of mobile tree sightings as of this writing, we are left with less fantastical, but all the more strange musings of how this could be. Are the trees communicating? We have long known the forests are alive and in communion with all who dwell within them, but this seems to be a new phenomenon. Some deep stuff there.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
It could be that the Quakers merely misread their holy instruments until this point, casting us all in the shadow of their ignorance. But if not, what has changed in the trees? Has the slow simmering of evolution finally churned up something of us walking apes could recognize speech or brain waves? I fucked that sentence up. Is this a natural development, or has it been spurred on by our ceaseless chewing down of their kind? Num. Yet inter-tree communication is just the most readily recognized interpretation of this new barrage of vibrations. Quakers or quacks? Are the Quakers right in their assertions? Or have they dove into the deep end of numerical interpretation, running non-stop mathematical laps around the college quad? It can be hard to discern the signal from the noise, yet that is just what these egg shakers are being paid to do. Careful with those eggs! Instead, it falls to us, it was very misspelled, us seekers to wade through the turbulent tides of truth so that we may confidently cast our anchor at the shores of the real. Dr. Drip with a good one.
All right.
I mean, the trees do talk.
Right. Yeah. Like that part. Yeah. Like, because what is it? Like, there's the whole. I know trees do too, but I've heard stuff about like the mycelia networks and stuff.
Yeah, they're talking.
Yeah. Like,
Yep. They're like little neural networks.
Yeah. So. But he's saying not just that there's extra curricular activity or whatever.
Yeah. They're shaking those eggs. That's cool. I can't wait to hear more about the trees. Do you know? Okay, so it's not a local phenomenon. It's everywhere.
Yeah, he said, yeah, global.
It's probably really strong in like the Amazon.
I guess yeah, you'd think if it's like a higher concentration of like forests and stuff.
Yeah,
like the tree in your backyard. Maybe you're not gonna.
That dude ain't talking. Yeah, I haven't heard shit.
Not one grumble. Nothing.
No.
Maybe soon.
Maybe he's just scared. We're new. I mean, we just moved in.
Oh, he's shy.
Yeah, and they live on a different timeline, so.
Yeah, and maybe you'd have to take 2 mushrooms and put one in each ear, like earbuds, and then flick them, and then you'd tune into the frequency.
I don't know why I thought of this, but you said mushrooms in the ears.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about Bluetooth, but then I thought of moon tooth.
Moon tooth.
Tap into the moon tooth. My signal is strong tonight. It's only strong like once a month, every 28 days or whatever.
Yeah.
It's full.
A moon tooth would cost a lot, right? You'd have to like you'd have to go to NASA, buy a lunar regolith, and then like compress it into a tooth.
You just got to know the right dentist.
Yeah. You need a guy with the right dust dealer and then the right dentist. Yeah.
Yeah. You got that regolith?
Is that regular regolith?
It's regular regolith.
That's regular. That's no regular regolith.
What is regolith referring to?
It's like okay, I'm not a dictionary, but I think regolith is like the term because it's like not like dirt like we have. It's like rock.
It's regal stone.
It's like rock. Hey, I like that because it's like crushed and powdered like rock stuff just from like impact. I think. So like there's like because isn't there like a layer of like just that across like the moon mostly?
There's dust. Yeah,
you go to the moon, you get a little bit of dust, you get a little whatever. I don't know. You go suck up the dust. You put some vacuum cleaners on the moon, on Mars. Maybe you suck it up. Maybe that's where we're wasting our time here. You don't need to go up there and try to mine any minerals. You got to suck up the dust. There's plenty of dust, and we got a lack of dust on this planet.
We're in a dust shortage, okay?
It makes me, yeah.
I mean, us humans make some dust, but like not enough.
Not enough. Like think about the Dust Bowl. So they had so much dust, and now people
where did it all go?
Now people take their vacuums and they dust, and you know what they do? They throw it away. Can you believe they just throw it away?
And then it ends up in the ocean, and then the ocean takes it forever.
We can't get it back from the ocean.
Yeah.
Greedy, the ocean.
Neptune or whatever.
Neptune.
Wow. I forgot about the dust catastrophe that we face every day.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It's sad. It goes unnoticed and untalked about, but one of these days, our advocation is gonna, is that a word? Advocation?
Oh yeah, that's a word.
Yeah, is gonna
vote for dust.
Vote for dust. Yeah. Vote dust 2028.
8, yeah. We're a cycle short. Maybe on the midterms or whatever.
Oh yeah, a little midterm sneak some dust in.
2026, sneak some dust in. And cover that house in dust.
The white dust house.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Bring dust back.
Bring dust back. Where'd all my dust gone?
Make a lot of dust again.
Oh my God. More dust, more dust. Yeah. I mean, you know, what better to go along with dust than the secret book according to John? I mean, the papyrus.
It's a dusty book.
Yeah, the papyrus it was written on. Those little fragments.
Yeah.
The dead sea. The dead
papyrus is a leaf. What is it?
Yeah.
Bamboo? Skip that. I don't know.
Don't
it's
worry.
on old parchment.
Old crinkly paper.
They pulled it out of the dust from ancient Egypt. 1945.
Is that actually when they...
Nag Hammadi Library.
Is that when they found it? In 45?
Yes. I think they did find another one maybe slightly earlier, but there was 3 of them at Nag Hammadi.
I know there was a bunch of like...
that.
Probably the area, something,
yeah,
or maybe who found it. Because also, I mean, I don't know any of this. This is me just talking out of my brain. But like, I think there's a bunch of like, interesting history about like that find. Because I think like people found it before, and then they like put it back or like kept it and didn't tell anyone, and then they found it again, like at the date, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, we could talk. You want to introduce the book a little bit?
Yeah, we do that.
Not like that.
Come on.
Stop it.
I'm trying to be so...
Get back in your cage.
Get back into the garage.
Are you in a garage? Damn.
Quick, listen. We can talk about anything we want. Real quick. You know how like you have things in your head that just will never go away? They're in there forever.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's that.
I could probably think of one. Which one?
Bobby, get back in the garage. It's from like they were making fun of like the Brady Bunch or something on Family Guy, and they were like it was like one of the cousins or something, and he like had a broom. He's like, get back in the garage.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I have stuff like that, references, but I can't call one up right now.
Then do you really have them?
It's in there, locked up.
I believe you. All right, I'll get on with it. So we read a little bit of the secret book according to John. There's a couple names like the Apocryphon, which just means secret book.
Secret.
I don't know. Yeah, secret. So basically, it is like Tyler said. It was part of like the Nag Hammadi library, the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, and it's like mostly complete. They think it's like a lot of the scrolls are fragmentary, just because over time they deteriorated, and so there's bits and pieces. But essentially, if I'm not mistaken, there are just like straight up versions of like Christian gospels as like we have them, basically, like. Why I keep thinking like Luke, but something like there's a few that like, yep, we found these ones in there. They're about the same as the ones like we have. They're just like, I think some of them might be older than other ones we have. But then along with those, there's a bunch of these other texts that like don't fit into the typical, what we now have as like a typical Christian like canon as far as books and doctrine and things like that. So generally now, a lot of these texts, depending on their content, are referred to as quote-unquote Gnostic scriptures or text. And they're basically just a subset of kind of ideas sort of that came around at the beginning of like Christianity, like proto-orthodox Christianity, before things kind of became a little more solidified. Like in the beginning, stuff was swirling around a little bit. So there's just like a bunch of different ideas and things that are in them that if you are expecting things to kind of follow the more typical ideas of like what we have as like the Bible, I guess, well, you'd be a little shocked. And I think honestly, this stuff is like
it's not
pretty,
your father's Bible.
It's not your papa's. It's your great. But I think Gnosticism in general, I can't even say it's like I think it's more well known, but I feel like people have like heard about other books of the Bible and stuff that aren't canon. right? Like that. I mean, like I think my view of like what might be normal is kind of skewed. Like what other people.
Yeah, I don't
might
think
know.
that most people, unless
Yeah.
they're looking for stuff, probably wouldn't know.
True. Yeah, it probably had to be. Yeah, I don't know. I think of like the Book of Enoch, which I don't know if that was in the Dead Sea stuff or not either. But anyway, so we're reading one of these many texts that they found, and basically, because I'm not going to do what we did in the Halloween episode if you saw that one.
Disaster.
Oh wow! And we left it up so you can watch us fumble it so bad. But essentially, in the briefest possible way, it's basically I'm going to say it wrong probably, a cosmogony of, which is to say an account of like how the universe either came to be and or is like structured now. And that also includes in this like the creation of I'll call it the universe for now until we talk about it, but then also of like man, of Adam, Eve, kind of talks about that stuff, like our world, and then it's all basically the character John. I think it's supposed to be John of like Patmos, right? The
John the Apostle.
Yeah,
if that's the same one. Yeah,
I can never remember, but so it's supposed to be him who's like receiving this information, and he's receiving it from. Did they call just the Savior? Like
yeah, so they're inferring Jesus,
right?
Yeah.
So he's basically Jesus is essentially supposed to be telling this to John, who is writing this all down for everyone to read. And it goes through that story, and then at the end, he asks like a few questions, like to the Savior, he's like, "What about this?" Or like, "Oh, what? And how about this?" Like a little back and forth, and then there's like a poem at the end that I didn't quite know how to like. I was like, "What?" I'm not sure what it was supposed to mean, but
yeah,
that's the basic thing. Like, hey, here's some knowledge you didn't know. Here we're going to talk about how the universe really is. You want to peek behind the curtain, kid?
And it was cool to think about, because there's the traditional sort of Abrahamic religions where they kind of worship the same God. The Christian God is also the Jewish God.
Up until Jesus, basically.
Right. And then Muhammad for Islam.
He's just a prophet, though. He's not like divine in like the same way Jesus is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. Yeah, I'm a doctor.
A doctor of theosophy or whatever.
Yeah, Helena Blavatsky. Yeah, all that.
It kind of flips the script on the origins of everything.
Yeah,
basically. And I watched Esoterica has a good video on this.
Love it.
Great YouTube channel.
Great channel.
Recently, Michael, you told me about it a long time ago, but I didn't listen for a while. And then now I started looking at this and I started watching his stuff, and it's great. He goes into this quite a bit. He has a good video on that, so go watch it. Free plug, thank you. I mean, you're welcome.
He's a very nice man.
No, he's great. What was I going to say? I don't even know.
You were talking about flipping the script, so you were watching some more, like, just to get a little more taste of...
Oh, yeah. Basically, it's like the universe is the one. All-encompassing God is the one.
Yeah.
And then the actual God that created Earth is like a demiurge god, naughty boy named Yaldabaoth. And he through that makes man and kind of instills a lot of bad stuff into us. And since Yaldabaoth came from the one, he had some light in him from the one. And so unintentionally, we got some of that divine spark.
Oh, it was intentional, though.
Yeah, he was trying... Do you remember how that went?
Oh, yeah. So, because he didn't even get the spark from, by Sophia. Transitive property, I guess. Yeah, technically. But yeah, Sophia, wisdom. So, like, there's all, I don't want to say it like this, but I'm going to. It's really, to me, seems like emanationist, which is like an idea of like what is happening. Like there's a one thing, and then there's emanations that come out of that thing that like you call like other deities and stuff. There's a bunch of different things. But I mean, if you're familiar at all with like Lord of the Rings, like just a little bits of like the lore of, I guess not even Lord of the Rings, maybe it would be like the Silmarillion or whatever. But like that's kind of like, it's reminded me a lot of that. Like where there's like there's like the big guy, right? But then there's a bunch of other deities and stuff that like you don't have that in like typical Christianity. It's like you have angels and whatever, but they're not supposed to be that. There's messengers now is like what people think of them. But yeah, so there's all these other entities that happen, and also the Barbello. I always thought that was like a place, and then I was reading this, and it's like, no, it's like an entity. I'm like, what? But it's like kind of also a place.
The first thought.
Yeah.
Of the one.
So that was interesting, and like other stuff I'd heard, I hadn't heard it talked about like that. I guess we should also say that like in like Gnosticism, there isn't like a canon. It's not like there's a bunch of different thoughts and different ideas, and they all slightly vary. And like this stuff obviously was talked about, and different like communities had different ideas about like this or that, or what about this, or just a preface to say that, you know, if you've heard other stuff about Gnosticism, it might be a little different because other stuff I had heard is different than this specifically. But anyway, to get to the point, because I'm rambling, is that how Adam got the light is that Sophia ended up making Yaldabaoth, and it was a bad no, and so it was basically like an ignorant. Does they call him ignorant in this one? I think they do.
Yeah, because she didn't get permission.
Yeah, she didn't get permission,
and so bad boy gets made. Bad boy makes man.
Mm-hmm. And then while eventually they get to making man, I'll check my notes and I can go into maybe more detail, but there's 365. What do they call them?
Demons.
They would be called demons, but they call them like, not powers. They call them like, there was a certain word. Anyway, that like Yaldabaoth created. Right. And so these 365 are then creating like man. Actually, it's only 360 of them, because the mother father, and that's not confusing at all if you're the first time I say that out loud, not just read it. It's pretty short. So the mother father sent down like 5 luminaries, I believe they called them, to take the place of 5 of those 365 demons. And then those 5 luminaries talked with Yaldabaoth and the first ruler, and basically like convinced him. He's like, hey, you made Adam, and he's just sitting there. He's just a pile of meat. He ain't got nothing in him. What you got to do is you got to breathe some of that spark that you have that your guys who you made don't have, because they don't have like the actual light spark of like the one. But if you breathe into Adam, that'll make him like, you know, move around and like dance or whatever. So then they basically trick him to then do that, and then so that's how we end up getting like that spark. Is that like the mother father like sent down luminaries to be like, hey, you should give it back to that guy.
I missed that part.
And we did read slightly different like translations.
Yeah.
So
I read the one by Stephen Davies on the Gnosis website, which is pretty good because it breaks it down into different chunks that at least he believed, but I think a lot of other people believe, like, all right, this is the main body of the text, which is where all the one and the structure of the universe and all that stuff comes from.
Yep.
And then a lot of the dialogue with Jesus and all that stuff. And this is why they don't really believe, scholars, I don't think really believe this is John.
Oh, yeah.
Because this stuff was tacked on at the beginning.
Yeah.
And inserted throughout, and the tones are all completely different between the different parts. So it was heavily edited, probably by Christian scholars. That was it, really, I was going to say. But
yeah.
So it made me think about, okay, the last part of this is like, all right, there's good and bad in the body. And so I was thinking about, like, I've seen this in other philosophies. Stoicism comes to mind the most, I think. Not necessarily the divine aspects of this, but like kind of wrestling with human nature. And there's all these like opposite qualities, like love and hate and all these things. It's trying to wrestle with this. Like, why do we have such good qualities and why do we have such bad qualities? And this kind of lays it all out. Like, here's why. Yeah. And also, if you just nurture all these really good parts, you can check out. You get a train up to God.
You get a choo-choo ticket.
But yeah, Stoicism talks a lot about that, like nurturing the good parts of your behavior and morality and all these stuffs and these stuffs. Yeah, I don't know if you have any more on that.
On that, yeah. So, what I thought was really interesting about that whole, or not the whole, there's a bunch of interesting, like really a lot of the detail stuff I thought was really interesting. Like, what? Mm-hmm. But they talked about, so I'll skip that because I'm not really explaining it very well. But there's did your version talk about the what the like they called him like the immovable race, I think, in mine, and it was basically the lineage of like Seth. Because
I know they mentioned Seth.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did really.
Because like in my version, when they were talking about it, is they were basically saying it. What it sounded like, it was just like after the whole section where they're actually having like John is having a dialogue with the Savior, and he's like asking about. He's like, basically it made it sound like, so, okay, if you're from the lineage of Seth, you're good to go. Like, you're like different. You're built different. You just like, you're going to go to heaven, basically. You're good. Don't worry about it. And he's like, well, what
that's
about...
That's where the Sethians come from?
Maybe. Because I don't know if that's... technically, I don't know. But I thought that too. And he was like, what about like other people who like... Because it was like, not everyone is or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, well then, you can do good works or you can work on yourself. Or if you like basically learn about like... this and like you understand it, then you can also do it. And then at the very end, not the very end, but then they said that, I think I wrote it down as a quote. Yeah, they said that, I'm just going to read my notes here because I wrote them after I was reading it, so it's a little fresher. It sounds like everyone has a spirit, power, light is what they called it, but that people of Seth lineage have an corrupted version, whereas others also have the actual light, but they have a counterfeit spirit, like a fire, they called it, instead of like light, they called it fire, and that's what like Yaldabaoth. And then I think it was I think is what did it. And then if you have that, you need to be visited by salvation. And then I think that, and I took that as like knowledge, like understanding of like the like salvation, like being visited by salvation. And then you will be, but if your spirit is weighed down or corrupted by the fire, like the counterfeit spirit, then you'll move on to another prison, a mortal body, like reincarnation. I was like, oh shit, they got reincarnation in here. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't read like a traditional Christian text at all.
No.
Like, there's nothing that really even is close, to be honest. And just reading through like all of these like demons in the body and bad stuff, like I can see how I think Gnosticism typically led to like sort of an aestheticism type of thing, like denial of the body and denial of earth and whatever, and
material bad, spirit good.
Right. So I can see how it could lead to something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and it's interesting too how there are different like maybe not like the Christian sphere, I guess, like early all this stuff. Like I don't know much about that, but like in other religions where they have like asceticism and like for kind of similar reasons, like your body's just whatever. Who cares? Like what's important is like you gotta And then I think some are actually like, no, like, but suffering, you have to suffer. And so that's one way to do it. Because then by suffering, you do that. Which I didn't get out of this, but like you're saying, just the denial of like the bad parts of like being a human.
I had a question for you because you have more experience with this stuff. Before this was found in like 1945, I mean, I don't know if there was like a gnostic sort of underground that was kind of has been since the beginning, like the early after Jesus period. Like, I know it was popular around then, but like, did it carry out throughout history? And if so, did it have, maybe you don't know anything, but like, did it have this creation story in other parts of their, like, did Yaldabaoth exist before 1945?
Yeah.
In what we knew?
Because there's like a whole version of like Gnosticism called like Valentinian Gnosticism, like Valentinus. So like I think that's one of those ones that like was like, yeah, that's old, like, you know, but they have a similar version. Yeah, I don't again, not an expert at all in any way, but yeah, no, I believe some of that stuff was in other like portions that people kind of carried out. It's just that like we didn't maybe have as much of it, or it wasn't as widely known. I think this was a big deal and became more widely known because it's like, oh, there's like new Bible stuff. That's crazy. And I think finding those couple, again, unless I'm wrong, finding those like other scriptures in there that are like older than records that we have, it's like, oh shit, we have like, check this out. Hey, this is old. This is old one we find.
Also, how fucking cool is it to get like this giant body of text in like an articulate manner, 2,000 years old, and like people have been doing this for thousands of years.
Yeah,
like that's pretty neat.
It's pretty wild.
Some of it, I'm sure, so much of it has been lost.
Oh yeah, like
obviously, but
yeah, like thinking of like the time it takes to write stuff down and then for stuff to persist throughout history and like
like how many bangers are lost to the sands of time?
How many absolute bops have we just
how many top 1 millions have we lost?
Oh, probably best not to think about it.
It's true.
Because it would be a lot. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have something?
You go.
All right. I was just thinking about, while reading this, the concept of like light representing God. Because I've heard this across different belief systems.
Yep.
And this one, because like he's like, God is all, everything encompasses it, but also is outside of it. All these funny ways of describing it.
Yeah,
and also light is a big deal when talking about it. And we have an inner light. And as like an ancient person, I could understand why like the sun, light, warmth, those kind of things would be like, since you don't know what anything does or is or how to like figure out anything, like you could see why you'd be gravitated towards that. But I was wondering, like, how do you get past like a sun god sort of thing? Thinking, because like you're literally looking at a giant ball of fire that literally heats your body from like an immeasurable distance, like this insane thing that exists. And there's many aspects of the sun that are awesome, so I could see how you get like a sun god, but like why specifically light? And this concept of like an inner light and light being pure and all this stuff, like it's interesting.
That is interesting. Obviously, I don't know like a proper answer because that's what I'm here for. I guess like I wonder if it's more like where you. It seems like we're pretty good at. I mean, as far as we know, we're the only things that do abstract thinking, right? That we can like measure
to this level.
Right, to this, you're right, to this level. So maybe it's just something like we innately kind of get drawn to do for whatever reason. So like, you would start off with something like, it makes a lot of sense that there's this big thing in the sky and like you understand that like, Yeah, sometimes it's a little too hot, but it's also way too cold when it's not up, and also it's hard to fucking see when it's not up. And so, yeah, I kind of like that thing. It's pretty good. Oh, yeah, when like all this stuff happens, so you start saying that. And then I don't know if it's just like you start thinking, like just abstracting stuff out like we do now, or to have, I don't know, you know, like
maybe light is bound with power, ultimate power, but like the purity of light is interesting.
That is interesting. Why would
you think that?
Why would you think it's like pure? I guess here's a guess. Maybe you would think light is pure because most of the light that you encounter, aside from fire and fireflies and some weird little jellies, comes from the sky. And again, we're already abstracting here. You're not in the sky. Sky is always above you. It's always there. Stuff moves around. You know, you got the wandering stars, the planets, you know, all that stuff. And you're already mythologizing and making stuff like with the sun about that. And then you see that as apart from yourself and apart from like your kind of more lived reality, which is like terrestrial. You're in the dirt.
And you don't make light.
You don't make light. Only thing is, like I said, like fire, basically. You know stuff is dirty. You know stuff is dark when there is no light. You could, see as darkness as being like, not pure necessarily, but like, or maybe like water. Like clear water is better usually to drink. And so maybe, you're like, well, light is illuminating the water, and then it's like a visual representation,
And it's up in the sky, and maybe you're thinking about, how do I get up there? My soul exists, and then you're going to float up towards those lights. I don't know.
I like how you said, like, oh, my soul exists. Like, when did that? No, that's what, but like, also, that's all I want to ask someone who knows more than I do about that. Like, when did the idea of like a part of you exists that isn't just in your body and it's different, but it's also still you, but it's a little wispy or, whatever.
That's been around for a while.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like,
yeah. I had a thought once.
That's crazy.
It was like, how much? I just wrote into my notes. How much soul is in a toe? What percentage of my soul exists in that toe? Probably none.
Maybe. Well, come on now.
But I mean, do you lose a little bit of soul self when you lose a toe?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That'd be silly. That
wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
I mean, there's different ideas about like your soul and like how much it's tied. You got
phantom limb,
True.
So it's still there.
That's the soul arm limb.
Yeah.
My soul limb.
My soul toe.
Soul link. I was just watching this thing about a little bit of a tangent, but I was just watching this thing about I can't even remember. But it was about some like Egyptian like ideas and how they had very generalizing, but like kind of like two parts, like your soul was two parts. It was like the Ba and the Ka, and one was like basically your personality and stuff, and the other was like your soul, your like immortal soul, and that like after those would like get combined into something hopefully, and then you could like operate in like the next world or whatever.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the dual nature of man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Again, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A bifurcated being.
What I mean,
Human.
I don't want to be like, men.
I mean, I know what you mean, but yeah, I guess maybe you're a little misogynist, huh? I see how it is.
I'm a mythogynist.
Oh my God. I was going to say, because I have to say it, go back to John. It's always back to John. So you're talking about the different parts of the human, and was it that like because we were made by demons basically in this example,
Right.
or they're not called demons, but we're just gonna call them demons for fun.
There is demons in the text. I just had it up.
They call them something else.
Authorities and demons.
Authorities. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. That sounds right.
I
Anyway,
think the authorities made the demons, but
because it was like 7 authorities, and then there's you're right. Yep. Okay. Now I remember. Anyway, we were made by demons. Pretty cool. And like each demon gets listed out as like what part they made.
yeah.
Like that was really funny. Like, and then this guy made the toe, and they started from the top and went down. So they started
They also
from
skipped around, didn't they? It wasn't always like perfect.
mine was like straight through.
Okay.
Like I think they when they would say like torso, but it was like from the crown, and then it went like down. And I thought that was interesting because I was like, yeah, like chakras, like here, crown chakra, and then you go down from there, and they're not like worse, but they're like more base or whatever you'd call it. And then in the part that I had, we don't know who made the peen.
Really?
It's unclear what demon made the peen, but we do know who made the testes.
Oh, shit.
Did I write it down? Oh, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Quick, fill the air.
Faster.
You're supposed to fill the air
book-
while
The Book of Zoroaster gave a list of these. I gotta start reading them.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the first one. Menegestroth created the brain, Asterekmi the right eye, Thaspomoka the left eye, Ironumus the right ear, Bisuum the left ear.
Let me start with the good stuff. Well, actually, this is funny. Is enthalalial God, who knows how this is pronounced? Literally nobody knows. Enthaloil, all the flesh. That's cool. Bedok, the right buttock.
I have one for the penis here.
See, mine has it. Is it Arabi?
Arabi, the penis.
See,
Ilo, the testicles.
Ilo, the testicles. But in mine, it has. I have this book, and there are tons and tons and tons of notes and shit. And it says Arabi is the left buttock, and then it notes the word buttock ? And the angel's name are missing through an inadvertence. MSS NHC2 and 4, which I think are like other versions of this like text.
Oh yeah.
Omit a few words having Arabi the left penis. So they're saying in this that that wouldn't make sense. So we're probably missing. Since we went from right buttock, we're probably talking about the left buttock, and then we're probably talking about the penis. So we're probably missing one guy.
Hold on, there's a cool one here because I skipped all of these because I was not going to try to read these.
You didn't even want to read.
So the veins were made by Ipauspoboba.
These are some rough names for us folk in our century here. Where we
Miami
live.
made the toenails. That's pretty cool.
Shout out Miami.
The toenails of the U.S.
I mean, a little true.
I've never been there, but hey.
I haven't
it's
either.
Fun to make fun.
I have nothing against Florida. Why would I? Yeah, these names are rough. But yeah, they literally name. It's really interesting. This also reminded me too of like just like the different like the way okay. This is maybe like a vaguer thing. I was going to try to tie it to something specific, but like
Darth Vader.
Why are we as like humans obsessed with all we do is just divide. That's all we do. Just everything chop it up smaller and smaller and smaller and forever. Like,
because if you can, I mean, it's like, it's compression. So you're categorizing everything to know some thoughts about whatever thing. And the more you can throw stuff into a box, the more you know about whatever it is. And then you can just move on. It's compression data.
I guess, but like, I feel like, well, I mean, this isn't just me because this is the thing. So broadly speaking, like, that's annoying though, right? I think it's kind of annoying. Well, okay.
It's like, it's useful and it's also not.
Yes, it is also useful. But like, I don't know, the more I think about it and like read stuff, I'm like, yeah, I think kind of miss the point a lot of times when you're doing this. Like, I think like, who cares? Like, what does it matter? Like, I mean, this is just an interesting example because this is like a book basically giving you an explanation of like the universe and how things work and how you were created. Like, it does make sense that you'd go into detail, but it is still just funny that there's that bit of like, and every piece that we're going to divide the human out into, well, someone had to make that piece. We're going to make whatever.
Yeah. Also, like, why would you have? Oh, I just proved myself wrong. It's like I was going to say, why would you have a demon make the right arm and the left arm? That doesn't make any sense because you use both arms. But one of them is better than the other one.
Yeah, one of them is actually.
They literally are a little bit different, except for freaks that are ambidextrous.
Oh my god! Yes. Gone forever. Well,
hold on. Explain this. I can make a good fist with my right foot, but I can't with my left.
That's true. I can cross my big toe with that second toe both ways on my right foot, but on my left foot, I can only really put the big toe over the other one. It's really hard to get that next toe over the toe on the left foot.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It is kind of.
And one demon made the brain, so explain that.
Yeah, there's two parts. Come on.
Yeah.
Two lobes.
You got one guy for the left hip, one guy for the right hip.
Yeah, they split the hips
But
up.
one brain? Come on.
Yeah, okay. I take it back. They weren't dividing it up enough.
Got the right eye and the left eye. Different guys or gals.
Who knows?
But those ones move the same. But also my prescription isn't always the same.
There you go. They're a little off.
Okay. So my question is, all right, I'm skeptical about all of this. So
why?
My question is, how do you go about writing something like this? You know what I mean? Like, I know this is supposed to be like a revelation. You have this experience, whatever.
Yeah.
But nobody has a revelation in this experience with this much detail.
Yeah, they do.
To write it all down?
Yeah.
Verbatim?
I think there are examples in history that, yes. Just like broadly, like I think there are like a lot of like examples of like.
I guess what I mean is like, can you experience this and then from your experience write down your interpretation? Like, okay, I'm going to read the inexpressible one, the one that rules all. Nothing has authority over it. It is the God. It is the Father of everything. Like, you could experience something and sense that, but then you write it all down, and it gets a little wordy. How I would interpret it.
So what I'm missing? What do you mean exactly?
So like, okay, I have 360 demon names specifically.
So you're questioning like, okay, you experience 365 demons in your revelation, and are you like questioning like, did the person verbatim remember every single name,
right,
or then only after the fact of like, I'm going to give him a name, I'm just going to name him,
right? And my assumption is the latter.
I don't know. Maybe. I think there's a lot of received writings where, again, how would I know I don't know what they experienced. So I don't think it's possible in a real sense. We can infer, but I don't think it's possible in a real sense to have someone say like, I received this information and this is what I wrote down. Because you can't experience that thing that they experienced exactly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I agree that, like...
I'm just saying I'm skeptical.
I get you. I don't know. Okay, wow. So you think... What about
What?
heretic? Oh, you don't believe writings can be received verbatim? Then you must hate, the guy, the big guy, the gob.
Dob.
I guess that's I would not ask someone this because that'd be very rude. but yeah, like would you go to like a practicing, Christian, Catholic, whatever, Protestant? What do you got? What's some other ones? Methodist? What do you got? Lutheran? Just trying to think of more names now. Calvinist.
Latter-day Saints.
They're different. Yeah. Well, they're all. Anyway, yeah. Would you go up to one? Well, I guess them especially. Yeah, with the Book of Mormon is like supposed to be. Well, he received it, but like in a weird way. Anyway. Yeah, like if you were like, yeah, do you really think they wrote down all that from like do you think they wrote down all I mean, I think if they truly are the type that like believe, more literally, they'd obviously be like, well, yeah, it was like divine and the words didn't get jumbled up and they didn't insert stuff, just the person writing, not history,
Mm-hmm.
But I bet there'd be some people who'd be like, I mean, it's like the vibes, I'm just like getting like, like some crunchy like Christians.
I wrote down my vibes.
I mean, like what is God gonna like you?
I can talk about something else real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a part in here where they talk about like the demons to enslave us or whatever, like brought down like gold, silver, coins, metals, and things to distract us or whatever. I thought about this. I'm not a religious person, but I've thought about the concept of like our modern age. Yeah. And like how much like technology and stuff we have and like the endless distractions and all the things that are just like hedonistic sort of pleasures, and we glorify all that, and our culture generally is becoming less religious, more secular. And so sometimes I think about like, is the devil winning? Like the Christian devil, like, is he winning? Because like he has all of this leverage over everybody, and like we're all just fighting amongst each other about certain things, and we're all going after these like little pursuits that we think are so important.
Sins,
And so I was just thinking about that sometimes. Like, I don't know. Not that I believe it.
But. No, but like that concept of like, this is if your idea of the devil is that he is basically the thing that causes these ills, evils, and tempts us constantly or whatever, and that our failings are what, we're just failing into it, then I guess you'd have to be winning, right? Like he's
doing a good job.
He's in the lead, He's lapping people. He'd have to be.
Sometimes I think about like some like the 7 deadly sins or whatever, the traditional naughty things we do. Like there's a reason we write about those things.
Yeah.
Like if you eat fucking 5 pies, you just go gluttony times 10. You feel awful. Like physically.
Usually.
You feel insanely bad. And like there's a consequence. But while you're doing it, it's great.
It's pretty
yummy.
Love
it. It's awesome. But then there's a huge downside. Kind of like with the morals and stuff like that. It's just like everything has its opposite.
Yeah.
And so I've read Stoicism like last year quite a bit, and I was trying to like do some of it. And you'd feel pretty good by trying to like stay on track and do all the things you're supposed to be doing. And you just feel better. It's interesting. Like there's like real applicable things to a lot of this stuff that doesn't have to be religious.
Well, yeah, like when I'd never thought about it like this way exactly, But like, so the seven deadly sins are just like archetypes, kind of. Like you could frame them as that. Like these are these things that like generally generalized are like things that we've as humans like struggled with or like know are bad or know lead to bad things and that aren't helpful that like we tend to fall into like these archetypal roles of we start doing like I start being like slothful or I start being like lustful or yeah I'm so hungry for the pies the cookies yeah so like I mean obviously like obviously everyone's human right
Speak for yourself.
But so like yeah it makes sense that obviously throughout there's gonna be a lot of like through lines through different sort of like religious like traditions and stuff and that like maybe we'd pull out these like archetypal these type of these things that just keep happening and then I'm it's curious like too like what you're saying how the reason we do those things maybe not always, but generally it's because like there's something good about it, like that during it or whatever it can be good. It feels good, and that also by like knowing that it's bad and not doing it can also make you feel good. Well, and I guess I think the point I'm just thinking out loud, isn't that what we always do? That just wistfully look off into the distance. That what does that say about our like our ability to like understand what a good thing is? You know, like what is the like a good has to then I can't frame this in the words I want. How like if a thing is good or the feeling is good, but you can derive that thing from many different things, that's like interesting, right? That like you can have this good feeling come about by completely opposite things. One that is like overall kind of destructive for you and one that is not because you're not engaging in those things. And you can get rewarded through either of them. Well, although one might have a more of a downside, you know.
Well, you can, like, let's say for gluttony in this example, because it's easier, or I guess sex or something like that. There's like the animal urges or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you could go back to like, you know, basic biology and things.
I have to eat chip because salt.
Gotta eat chips. Gotta eat them. But have you ever seen my dog eat? He eats like a fucking maniac and doesn't know when to stop. And that's like the gluttonous sort of behavior.
Very sinful dog you have. Very.
He's bad boy.
Not heaven bound, that one.
No.
Sorry, all dogs except
Loki. So like, it feels great when you're having the sweet treat. You're getting joy, so you think.
Yeah.
But you're misunderstanding the joy versus like a fulfilling sort of thing in your life type joy.
Yeah,
they look similar, but they're not. And then you feel physically bad. It's like there's a natural drive to eat the things because you need sugar or whatever, and there's these built-in pathways for your body to seek such caloric intake.
Yep.
And it's undifferentiated, like you just or a generalized sort of food-seeking behavior.
Yeah.
But then, so if that's just the case of it being a natural impulse, like why does it feel so gross if you overdo it? Like why are you having such suffering because of overdoing it when it felt so good before? Yeah. And then to like get the opposite of that, like let's say you abstain from that behavior, but you really want it. And that's just its own kind of suffering.
And that's called edging or whatever.
Yeah. I'm edging the cookie. I'm touching the side. And then when you finally, after hours of battling with that cookie, you feel proud or good, but in a different way.
Yeah.
that's not intuitive.
No.
That you would just do that. But we've kind of found out those kind of things. And that's kind of an unnatural.
Yeah, like a constructed almost, like a culturally. Again, don't know that. I'm just right now saying that, like, yeah, between the two, that one would feel like more of like a culturally constructed idea that you're gaining from, as opposed to like a natural one. But then even, yeah, talking about like the natural one too. So if it is the case that any biologists in the comments, let us know. Yeah, so like, why would it be the case that if you have these built-in like pathways, like you're saying, to like seek, like from the food example, like to seek those types of food because you know it's like energy and like calories and or whatever, that you also don't have like the regulatory switch to be like, yeah, but you're good, don't like stop. Yeah. I mean, like, and obviously I know that there are like people have different versions of that. Like some people don't have like an impulse or like a regulatory control very much, and so they struggle like with stuff like that more, or you know, various things. And other people seem to just naturally have an ability to do it more, like to regulate it more, or don't have those urges the same way. You know what I mean? But wouldn't you think that, yeah, also if it is just natural, you would not want the body you're trying to sustain by doing that to also then hurt itself by just keeping to do it? Like, that doesn't seem great. Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a complicated mess, being a human.
I'm a mess.
God bless this mess.
Just pointing at me.
That was good. That was a good little tangent.
Good little tangent, yeah. I have one other thing I could say that's funny, because I talked about humans. I just gonna look like, are you alone? I don't know. Am I ever alone? In the part after the main bit, when he's talking with the Savior a little bit, it's funny that there's a few times that the Savior's like, not like that Moses guy said. Not like Moses said, like gave it different. Like, nah, he was off a little bit. But one thing I wrote down is wisdom taught Noah, like Sophia did, because she actually came down and did all this stuff. Like, we're not giving a synopsis, okay? Just read it. It's online.
Just read it.
But wisdom taught Noah so he could be saved and save people, but those people didn't listen to him, and they didn't get an ark. But it was, in this version, it's not just Noah and his family. It's like a bunch of people, like I think a bunch of other families and whatever. And I didn't write down what they actually did. They like hid. Oh, this is the next part I wanted to say. I could have just kept reading. And this is a direct quote from my version, at least. But they went to a certain place and hid within a luminous cloud. And then I wrote ancient aliens real confirmed shocked emoji.
Damn.
You go to a certain place and you hide within a luminous cloud? Sounds a bit like some unidentified aerial phenomenon to me.
It's good for them.
And
they got a ride.
Do you know how... Okay, not that I've watched every episode, but I bet for the first few seasons of Ancient Aliens it was on, and we were young. I mean, I would still... I wouldn't... Maybe I'd still watch it for fun. Because it was always for fun. Okay, I will say, another quick tangent. I do watch it. That's a lie. Whenever I go home, because my parents have... Well, not cable, but DirecTV... I'll put it on because like there's like garbage to watch all the time. Yeah. And we just sit there and we're like, oh, that's cool. And then we're like, what are they talking about? Like, what are they? No. Like, yeah. So it is fun. But I don't remember ever hearing like that. If I was an Ancient Alien guy, and like for sure they've read this, like, because they read like the Book of Enoch and they read some other like apocryphal text. I know I've heard them talk.
It could be in there.
Maybe I haven't heard it, but I'm like, damn, like that's a line I'd throw out and be like, hey, I'm just saying, it's It's right there.
It's right here.
Hey, it's right here.
Yeah, fun.
Have you been in any luminous clouds lately?
Be kind of like in Mario, those guys up in the clouds.
Oh,
Throwing out shells, throwing out those spiky bits.
yeah.
Those little jerks with the fishing poles.
Yeah, but they also are your cameraman in Mario 64. That's kind of nice.
That's true. Yeah, they redeemed themselves.
Yeah, a little bit. They got a solid gig.
Yeah, that was their first job, was the Luminous Cloud.
Yeah. They had to sweep up Noah and his kin or whatever.
Yeah, his homies. Get in, we're gonna go get the Italian.
Come on. We gotta save him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts you wanted to share about
No.
Secret Book? Yeah.
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. Again, obviously, encourage anyone who heard this, if you're interested in that, in any of the little tiny snippets, like just go read it. I think it took me like an hour to read.
Yeah, it's quick.
I don't read super fast, but so if you're a quick reader, you get that thing done pretty quick.
45?
30? Yeah,
30 minutes?
I don't know. Reading those demon names would be a little tricky for anyone, I'd think, but
Just skip it.
You can just take a leaf out of this guy's
Do what
book.
I do and just skip it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I'm obviously down to read more. I bought a book full of Gnostic scriptures, so I want to read more of them. But
Gospel of Truth, anyone?
yeah, little Judas, little Thomas, Thomas Didymus,
Didymus?
Twin the Twin. Yeah, those would be fun. But if anyone else has like suggestions, let us know. If you see this and you're like, hey, I got this quirky little short story, this little book, try to keep it under like 200 pages maybe. If we're talking
Teach us
like
a little magic or something. Come on.
if we're talking
Give us
about
a little, give us a little taste.
a little taste, because we got to read these things and it takes time. But we could always do them in sections too, like we've talked about. But yeah, so let us know. But I don't know. Was there any other thoughts or things you had before we close out?
We kind of talked about this a little bit. I don't know if I talked about it on the recording, but talking about kind of memories and how they like a flashback of a memory. How it's like a microsecond.
Yeah.
Super compressed. But I was thinking about let's say you're going through like a difficult period of time. More than just like a day. It's like sick for like a week.
Yeah.
Or like going through like you lose a family member or something, and it's like a really dark period, whatever version of that you want, for like a week, 2 weeks, a month or something. And then time goes on, recover, gets better, whatever. Better than it was now. And then time passes. Like, you don't really think of that in the full span of time that it was. You just think about like a few sharp aspects of that time,
Yeah.
But like while you were in it, I feel like dark periods, suffering, whatever label you want, it's all encompassing of your consciousness in a way.
Yeah.
Especially like if you're sick or in pain or something, that dominates your whole perception of everything.
Yep.
Yet when you're not in that anymore, maybe there's cases where you can relive that again, but like you're not, at least for me, you're not really thinking about that. You're thinking about just little sharp aspects like, oh, this particular thing kind of sucked, or like this memory that gets played in my head for a short amount of time. But like it's kind of like the shocking difference between the size, which is not the right word, but the size of the experience versus when you're there and like when you're trying to think of it again.
Yeah.
And like just thinking about how when you were in it, how extreme your consciousness was wrapped around that.
Yep.
And then I took it further, and like when you try to think of like a really happy time or period, that's all very fleeting in comparison. Like the suffering stands out way more in my mind.
When you think back, you mean like
while you're even going through like
okay.
a really happy
Yeah,
period,
I wasn't sure
even
which
that's
one.
like fleeting.
Yeah. Okay.
So just thinking about like the difference between the two.
I mean, I agree. I think for the most part, like especially like when you are in a bad place mentally, physically, whatever. Yeah, you do tend to be really wrapped up in it. Is a good way to say it. Like really consuming. And then when you're happy, it's like
Yeah, it's like oh, this is nice, and then you forget about it.
Yeah,
but like,
just
or even like the lack of suffering should just be like you should be happy about that, but then you don't because then you're thinking about something else, or then you then you pay attention, you tune in like oh this is really nice, and then you're happy or whatever. But then I mean maybe we're just broken, but
I mean
but I feel like that's normal, you know.
Well, I think it is because it basically, I mean, it's kind of like the whole like mindfulness. You got to practice being mindful, so that way you would it. No, I'm sure this isn't exactly what you're always trying to do with mindfulness, maybe, but like you're trying to extend those periods of like happiness because if you could be more mindful when you're not suffering, then wouldn't that you're allowing yourself to take in and wrap yourself more fully in that experience willfully, right?
Yeah.
Like
whereas so that takes conscious effort.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas the suffering, you are fully aware of it and living in the moment, not by choice.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
You can't just not feel bad.
That's
you know what I mean?
Just don't be depressed. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'll do that.
Just don't have a pain in your leg or whatever.
Oh, come on. Just get over it.
Yeah. That takes no effort. And then the trying to like recognize how awesome things are takes effort.
It is interesting. I mean, that's clearly something that's always been the case, right? Because like with humans. But I'm just going to keep doing that. Yeah, it's clearly always been the case because of like history.
As a student of history.
History rhymes. Am I intelligent? But yeah, like there's got to be some interesting thoughts people have had as to why that would be. You know what I mean? Like, if we're doing the human thing and trying to divide things up and give reason to everything, right? Like, oh, this part was made by this guy. Then, why would that be the case that like you would have that suffering would stay and happiness would, flee away? Well, like, what would the point be? I mean, in any sense, like in a more like metaphysical sense, or like just a physical. I guess physical is it just because like if your body is operating nominally, then there's nothing to signal to your brain or whatever that something's wrong. So it's just like a flat state, and then something's wrong.
Static.
But then on the other hand, but then when you get a spike of like dopamine or whatever, then why is that go away so quick?
Well, now I'm thinking about the duality. So like pain and the physical body trapped here in this prison of earth.
Pain and the knife are inseparable.
Happiness, like happiness, fulfillment, all the things you live for, whatever, relationships, all the things that are like love and all that stuff it's immaterial in a way.
Yeah.
And that's part of like the goal for religion is to like tune into all of that, and then your soul can lift up or something. That's what I'm thinking about right now.
Vibrations.
And
now we'd call it.
It takes a lot of effort to do that.
Unless you're just born just shaking. You're just vibrating so fast. Yeah. No, yeah, it's yeah, like the way you're saying it is one. The first thing I thought was, I thought you were going to say like in the Christian context, it's like all these fleeting things, and that's why they're like, yeah, and then actually, no, all that's back, baby. Round 2, you get it all. You get it back again forever. That's the name of the movie. Back again forever, twice. Second time. All the good stuff again. Now. Eternity. It's a long movie title, but it played well. So there's like that version where it's like all these fleeting things that you have that you like enjoy and are good, but that do seem so fleeting. One option in our brains of like making stuff up, mostly, is, well, no, you get it back. It's fine because you get it back again twice, double. Or the option is like, you don't maybe necessarily get it exactly back, but you can, through effort, get yourself to a place where like you're more living in that. Again, kind of like mindfulness is the modern thing I keep thinking of as an example of a subset of that. But yeah, like, I mean, it's probably nice to just think like I get it back again, but I guess I find it more interesting, the idea, like you're saying, like where through effort you could maybe get to a place where you're in that mode more often, or that like when you, whatever, if you like die and you're like, okay, but now I was shaking good, so I'm in whatever. This is maybe a tangent, but what was I was watching something today and it made me think about it again. Maybe I've said this before. I don't know if we're on or off, but that idea of like in the Bible, where they have, sometimes it's like described as like, I think maybe they describe as the angels as doing it, but I think sometimes they describe it as like a people doing it, where like you're when you die and whatever, not like the concept of heaven like you have in your head, where it's like you just get to meet grandmam again and you get puppy dog, not Loki, but you get the other one. Neither of your dogs are going to heaven, sorry. But
take that back.
Fine, whatever. Yeah, I guess you're right. Dom can go.
Yeah.
I'll let him. I'll pay Peter off, whatever, at the gate. But there's a like that like pop culture basically idea of like heaven, where it's like whatever, it's just this again, but better. But there's other stuff I think it's like actually in the Bible. It's like, oh, it's like you're in a chorus in heaven, like singing glory like to God forever, like in chorus. And something I was watching today mentioned that, and it was like, that's boring. You're singing forever. And that's what I thought too. But I've thought this before, and I think I've said it to you, where it was like it dawned on me that might be an interpretation of what you're saying, is that that state, it's like being metaphorically described as singing in hymn. I'm gonna bring Tolkien in again, because like in his like cosmogony, he talks about like how like they sing stuff like into creation, like there's like the choir, like a heavenly choir that like sings stuff, and like Melchior the dark, he's a dissonant chord, which is like good, but then he goes bad boy, he goes too bad boy. But like that idea of like, oh, so you're not literally singing, it's not like a actual thing where you're just sitting there in church, like praying in a hymn. It's that like you, like your core, like your being, your like soul, your whatever, your
it's
vibration.
doing what it was meant to do.
It is like, yeah, it's now in accordance with singing, like in accord. It's harmonized together with like source, whatever you want to call it. That like, that's that state. Like it's not a boring thing. I mean, maybe, you're probably not going to be thinking like that because you're shaking your string on one of them things.
Your soul is the harp string of God.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. I said that like in a way that made it sound like I wasn't serious, but I actually was.
No, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and like that's such a nicer idea in my mind. Again, because I'm probably more, like I said, predisposed to like that idea in general. But yeah, like, and it makes me wonder, like, some of the people, even in like the canonical gospels of like Christianity, because I know there's like parallels, in many, cultures and stuff, ideas. It makes me wonder, like, yeah, like, is that what they meant? You know what I mean? In so many words, not how we would describe it now.
Yeah, because things get filtered through language and, different languages, translations and things, and you probably misinterpreted, like most people.
Yeah.
What they are actually talking about.
Yeah, because
if you're experiencing something like that, you wouldn't be able to perfectly describe.
And that's like such a common... understandably a common thing in like people who have like mystical experiences is where like they like the words fail, like they're like I can't describe it, like
which
can't do
brings
it.
me back to my other point about writing things down verbatim.
You just won't let it go.
I played the long game on that one.
Just let the John write down all his demons. Come on.
We'll see.
We'll see if I let him. Yeah.
We'll see if I let him 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good enough place to call. No, I think we call it there. Nice little tangent and yeah. But yeah, hopefully if you've made it this far, wow.
Good job.
Wow, thank you. If you want more of this, you probably know where to find it if you found it now, but it should be on, actually not on most podcast platforms yet. Still having some issues with Apple. It's really annoying. Hope we're going to get it resolved. But it should be on Spotify and some other of the big ones. And if you want to watch this, we're on YouTube /@Paulinoia. Most, I think, platforms we're on, which right now is mainly just Twitter and Blue Sky, are also just @Paulinoia. And we'll get better at maybe using those, but...
Maybe we'll make some clips and post things.
Maybe we'll make some clips. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, if you want any more of that, check it out. And just, I appreciate if anyone actually ever hears this. You can tell me. It's okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for glistening.
It's cookie time.
Cookie time.